Hey, welcome back to the Podside Podcast. Glad you're tuning in. Man, I talk about a lot of people that I have on my show, and it's just crazy with all the people I've met over the last few years. One of my BFF digital friends from all time, never met her. Stephanie Weeks is on the show. So Stephanie, hey, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're on the show today. And the reason I wanted to have you on the show, and I think you probably obviously know, but for all the millions and millions of people around the universe listening to the show. Stephanie and I connected a few years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago. And I don't even know where it was or why we connected, but, you've been on my show before and I've been on your show. I think, what's been crazy, what's been great about technology is that you and I consider you one of my best digital friends in the world.
Yeah.
We text every once in a while. We check in. We're friends on social media. We're liking, I mean, I just, I
We
really
kind of
truly
help each other out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I truly consider you one of my really, really good friends, and I've never even met you, which is crazy. But
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and you as well.
I appreciate you
And
saying
it's
that.
amazing how social media does open up the world to us like that. Because otherwise, if this was 10 years ago, we would never really be able to connect or help each other or inspire each other.
Yeah, I'd have no idea who you were, but
Right.
but I do now, which is great.
Yes.
But one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show is yesterday, I'm just scrolling. It was, I don't know, 2 days ago, but whenever it was, and came across one of your posts. You talked about, and I had no idea, so I guess -1 for me being the quote unquote good friend that I am. Apparently, you were diagnosed with cancer just recently. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Um, and the reason I wanted to have you on the show and this is what I love about you, because in your podcast I listened to today, you were talking about how you just want to talk about this journey and share motivation, share inspiration, and talk about what you're going through on a day-to-day basis. The episode I listened to, and again, for everybody out there listening, Stephanie is the host of the Dharma Project, and it's a great podcast, and I just love your vulnerability. Just a little quick behind the scenes with Stephanie. She is an absolute crusher in the mortgage industry. She hammers it out. She's got a great YouTube channel, so check her out there as well. She had over 1,000 subscribers, and I don't know how you got 1,000 subscribers so fast. I'm so jealous.
I'm excited. I'm so excited about that because I realized that only 4 out of 10 YouTube channels ever get to 1,000. And the average time it takes, oh my gosh, the average time it takes to get to, the average time it takes to get to 1,000 is 22 months. And I did it in 11. And I'm like, so ecstatic.
Well, you should be, because it's absolutely amazing. And it's a beautiful channel. You do very, very well. But anyways, again, you're crushing the YouTube, you're crushing the podcast, you're crushing the mortgage industry, and then you got thrown a curveball in your life. And I wanted to have you on the show just to really talk about that. Your podcast today talked about you're going through 51 weeks of, or 50, maybe 50 now, or 50, you go every Thursday,
it's
right?
51. It's 51 total, and I go every Thursday. Yes, and tomorrow would be my 4th week.
How do you do it? How do you? And again, I know it's just a vague question, but with all the things you have going on, mother, wife, business, social media stuff, and then you get hit with this, but your attitude has not changed one bit. And I know there's dark times, and I don't want to bring up dark times with you, but I know there are. But
and that's okay, because it's real,
Yeah, but you inspire the shit out of me. Like I had no idea looking at all your stuff going through social media until I saw that, and I'm like, damn it, how did I even not know that? And then I listened, I'm like, man, you are just such an inspiration for so many people out there. And I know there's people listening to the show that are going through, and whether it's cancer, whether it's another disease, or whatever the case is, if you're struggling in life, you are that absolute beacon. And you are so inspiring, and you blew me away. And it even brought a little tear to my eye listening to your podcast today, that I'm just so proud of you. And I just think you're amazing. So I'm gonna go back to the question, just ask you, how do you do it?
Thank you. Well, first of all, there are definitely some dark days. One of the first days that I remember, before I even knew anything, when they had an inclination, was, well, I'll try to make it quick. But so basically, when it comes to health, like, I am the first thing that everyone said to me verbatim, and I couldn't even make it up, when they found out about my diagnosis, was, "Oh my God, you're the healthiest person I know." And I am. That's what's insanely crazy, is I am beyond healthy from and I work hard on that. And I've worked hard on that my whole life, right? So it was complete from left field. I'm thinking, okay, in January, I come right back from a vacation, had an amazing time, like having the best life I could have ever dreamed of. and I'm going in for a routine ultrasound to just check on something. I'm thinking I'm leaving work, I'm gonna be in and out, no big deal, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be, right? So I get in there, and the doctor, who I did not continue my journey with, but the doctor could not contain herself. She was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, this did not look this bad the last time we looked at this. Like, oh my god, did you hit it? What happened? Oh my god, look at the blood flow. Oh my god, give me the chart, give me this." And she's like, literally, that is what she's doing. And I'm still not freaking out because I still don't think that it's the C word, which I refuse to say. But I still don't think it's that. And so I'm still not worried. But she's like, "Okay, so can you come like tomorrow? Because like this has to get out your body. I need to operate on you. Like, if you tell me no, like, I'm going to call your husband. I'm going to call the police. I'm going to call," like, she was just trying to really say, "I have to get this out." And so I'm like, "Okay, fine." I'm still thinking, fine, whatever, take it out. It's not a big deal. It's not anything. I'm ridiculously healthy on every level. And so I end up having a surgery a few days later to wake up. And I'm going to go on a little tangent about this because I'm frustrated. I don't have anger or resentment, but I'm frustrated. I wake up to my husband, of course, in the room with me. And I wake up and I'm like, "Okay, so what's the deal?" I'm still not even living in that world, right? And so he starts to tear up and he says, "Well, she said that it's bad. And she said that you have cancer. And she said that you need a double mastectomy and you need chemo and radiation." I'm going to point out my husband told me that. And I'm like, "Okay, well, where's my doctor?" Because I'm one of the patients where in certain things, I don't need a lot of detail. In certain things I don't care about, I don't need to understand. When it comes to health, nutrition, diagnosis, illness, like, I read Ortho Molecular Magazine for fun. I subscribe to Nature for fun. I research cancer for fun and for information. And I love biology and neuroscience. And it's just, that's the things I like, right? So um, he says, "Well, no." So the nurse comes in and I say, "Where's the doctor?" "Oh, she left." Um, I'm sorry. What? "Yeah, she left." "Okay, well, let's get her on the phone right now, you know? So I had to leave a message. She calls back and she reiterates the same thing. And she says, "I had it biopsied, like a path report right there on the table because I didn't want to wait 10 days for this. I was very concerned with it." And she says it was positive, as was a lymph node that tested, which is a sentinel node, which is the closest to the tumor, if you will. That the tumor, I think it was like, either, I'm bad with this, like either 42 centimeters or 4.2 centimeters. Apparently it's big. It was very big. And she says the other two lymph behind that looked positive, but I left them in to see how they react to chemo. And I did not get clear margins. You want clear margins, for people who don't know. You want clear margins all the way, like they extract it, they clear the margins, like all good to go, it's out. She could not get clear margins. And that was it. Yeah. So she told me on the telephone. But besides that, though, where she told my husband was in the waiting room in front of everybody. So he's like, "Do I get fries with that? Like, is that the next thing she's
Yeah.
gonna say?" Because she just like totally changed my entire life in front of all these people who may know you, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
And yeah, so it's crazy. And so in that window of, you have, you know, that, and we need more information because it takes a long time to get all the details with all these different tests to come back, which is, the waiting is the worst. Um, but I think it was before I had the surgery. One day my husband comes home and it's like 4:30 and I'm like laid up on the couch and he's like, "Are you okay? Like, what's going on?" And I just really was kind of on the floor, it, however,
Yeah.
hypothetically speaking, I guess. And then he's like, "This is not like you. Like, what's going on?" Because me, I'm like running around all hours of the day, night. Like, I'm just, I don't really sit still much. And so there have been definitely some dark days that he's helped me through. Like, I remember one time him telling me, "You can't you can't go down this road already. We don't even have all the information. Like, you're gonna have to we're gonna have to pick ourselves up here. This is just something that we're gonna go through together. It's just one of those milestones or one of those hills or issues in life, and we're gonna get through it. We're just gonna have to deal with it in the meantime." And so it's not easy. And I'm giving you like this big old spiel, but so it's not easy, and there's definitely some really dark days. But the way that I look at it is, I'm entitled to those dark days. I'm entitled to those moments. I'm entitled to have the day where I want to eat the junk food for a minute. But you can't stay there. I have to move on from that, and I have to do my best from there.
Have you, and I'm sure you have, like, what's going through my mind, and the question that I would ask myself if I'm, well, yeah, if I'm going through what you're going through, and it's a whole other thing. I don't know if I will ever will go through breast cancer, but do you ever think to yourself, why me? And then
No.
well, I think that the
Mhm.
only reason I ask you that is that when you ask yourself why me is because maybe you are the beacon, and maybe you're the light that is going to change so many other lives by being that positive person. And maybe you are,
Mhm.
for whatever reason, the higher being, God, universe, has chosen you in this weird strange way to say, okay,
Mhm.
Steph, we're going to give you breast cancer so you can be the light and save so many other people. I would just, that's what came through my head, that's
Mhm.
why you would have done, because like you said, you are so healthy, I mean, you're one of the most positive people I've ever met, yet you get the curveball of a lifetime. That I think there's a lot of people out there that are not positive, or
Right.
this is the scariest, and I'm sure it's scary, but it's the scariest thing in the world, and it crushes it, and they just want to give up on life.
Mm.
But yet here
Yeah.
you are, understanding that you're the most positive person in the world and you're going to beat this. What's that mentality like for that? Like, what are you thinking about that?
Well, I think that I haven't had the thought of why me. And I think the reason I haven't is because if I think this is my own issue, right, in my own mind, this is not logic, but it's my feeling. So I feel like if I have to say why me, then that means it had to be someone instead of me.
Mm,
And I wouldn't want it to be someone else instead of me.
yeah.
I wouldn't want it to be a friend or family member or somebody who maybe couldn't handle it, because I don't know if I'm gonna be fine, and I don't know if I'm gonna handle this great, and I don't know one day from the next day. But what I do know is if I go down, it's gonna be having fought, trying more than anybody could ever imagine to try, and having a damn good time doing it.
Yeah.
And that's summing it up.
Uh, and again, this is what I love you so much. It's just that you're just so, I mean, there's just no doubt, there's no question in your mind that this is just, something that happened and you're going to crush this, you're going to beat this. The other thing I think about with you is, you mentioned in your podcast today, you were talking about a couple, and again, I'm asking these questions just because I'm for several reasons, I'm genuinely interested, but also I know what your message will, and how will impact others. You mentioned, well, two things. The first thing is, what do, and actually you made me text my dad today because of your
Oh,
podcast, because
okay.
you said that, like, how do you react to someone that you know has cancer? It's like you just said, what, there's no way, just check in on people. And I think that happens a lot with people, that when you find out somebody is fighting cancer and they're going to beat cancer, but you're just like, oh my, what do I say? Like, how do I do this? What do
Yeah.
that goes through my head, and it goes through my head. So then when you put that out there this morning, I use it like, my dad has shoulder surgery. I just text my dad, hey, I hope your shoulder's doing okay, because it's what
Yeah.
you said this morning. So talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, because it's happened to me. Like, you've heard something bad has happened to someone, and you don't do anything because you can't imagine what you can do or what you can say that's okay. And now, being on this side of the fence, I know that even if it's thinking of you, hope you have a good day, just checking in, praying for you, like anything. And of course, some people will say more than that, and that's wonderful as well. And I love all those messages also. But having been on this side now, I know that even if you just say thinking of you, praying for you, um, can I help you? Can I do something? It makes the biggest difference. And the funny thing is our brains are so weird that the people, or some of the people that check on me a lot, they apologize and they ask if it's okay because I don't want to bother you, but I really want to check in. And isn't that a broken part of our anatomy, or whatever the right word is, that we think that we don't want to bother somebody that is dealing with a situation that anything could help, a note, a flower, a card, a text, an email. Like you said, how's your shoulder doing? Things like that. Like, it's weird that we just don't do anything because we feel like we can't, because we don't know what to do. And then the people who are, half of them are like, I really don't want to bother you. I didn't want to call Matt 10 times today, or I didn't want to call you 5 times today, but I really felt like I wanted to know what was going on. So that's kind of interesting to me.
That's why I wanted to have you to bring that up, because I think it happens. And you also mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of craziness going on with the world, and you
Mhm.
just like, it's just me. Like, I'm like, even the positive, the positive side guy, I hesitate. And I think you were so right when you say that it doesn't have to be a book, but just to know
Right.
that someone else is thinking about you and you're on their mind. I think that's extremely, extremely important. You talked about going into your treatments. You talk about bringing
Mhm.
somebody with you,
Yeah.
and having a buddy. Like, talk about that experience too, because and again, these are the reason I'm asking these questions is because this is what went through my head when you
Okay.
were on the show. And I have, again, I don't know why I keep trying to tell you the story, but I've never,
Okay.
I don't have cancer, and I've never battled it, but the stories you're telling, they're so real, and it makes so much sense that
Mm.
this needs to get out. You just need to talk about this more.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk a
Yeah.
little bit about your chemotherapy and how that works.
Well, the thing is that for people that know me the best, I don't even take an Advil or a Tylenol. I have a natural remedy, an herb, an old wives' tale, or whatever they're called. You know what I mean? Like, that's for everything. Like, people will call me and go, my kid has a fever. What do I do? Like, I remember my daughter one time, she's having a friend over. She was like 6 years old, and the friend was like, "I have a headache. Do you have any Aleve?" And my 6-year-old goes, "Well, you might be dehydrated. Let's get you some water, and peppermint oil might help you with that." And so that's how I am, right? And I never could understand. I had thoughts at times seeing people going through cancer and thinking, I can't believe that they're drinking that or eating that, and then stopping myself and going, you can't judge that. You don't know. You don't know that whole situation. And I caught myself, I checked myself on that. But I just, I don't know. It's like, for me, and I would think, like, what would I ever do? I can't imagine being okay putting those things into my body. And that's what part of my lesson is through this journey is, I guess, apparently, like 90% of women who have breast cancer have some type of hormone receptor. And people who know me best know that I can never be in the norm. I can't even imagine doing that. Like, if I go to the red dress run, I wear a black dress. If I'm supposed to wear if everybody wears purple, I'm going to show up in green. Like, it's just how I am, right? And so the universe has given me this wonderful little gift, so packaged that I'm in a 10% bracket apparently, and I am what they call triple negative receptors. And what that means is that not only do I have to have chemo to try to live, but I have to have 4 different chemos to try to live. And I have to have 51 weeks of treatments. And there's no other option. There's no alternative. There's no anything else. This is it on your platter. And you don't get to change the menu like you change everything. Right.
Yeah.
And so that is a lot to figure out and a lot to absorb. And I had to say, okay, I want to live, and I've always said I'm going to live till I'm 100. I'm going to have so much fun. I'm going to be driving people crazy. I'm going to be making people laugh, like be partying with my girlfriends, drinking my champagne at 100, doing yoga headstands. Like, look at that old lady, right? And I still feel that way, and I still want to do that. So it took a lot to figure out, how the hell am I going to twist this? Because I can twist things to be positive pretty quickly and pretty easily, just about anything. And I thought, well, you might call it poison. I've called it poison in the past. And if I'm going to get through this and I'm going to survive this and I'm going to make the best of this, that can't be a word in my vocabulary. I cannot believe that is, I'm putting poison in my body. You can't, I don't feel like you can survive that way. And so I had to think about, what in the world am I going to do? I'm going to meditate through the treatment. I'm going to have mantras that I'm saying to myself. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to dress up for every treatment, and I'll talk about that in a second, but what can I do with this? And so what I decided is, as it's going in, I'm imagining and envisioning this is liquid gold. It is healing my body. I'm only taking what I need from this, and I'm getting rid of whatever I don't need from this. It's magic fairy dust, and it's just something I'm having to go through to just heal my body. And that's kind of the way that I have to look at it.
Do you you mentioned in the podcast, this will be the last thing I have to talk about that, because I want to talk about the future and the cool
Okay.
stuff going on in
Yeah.
your life. But you also mentioned about the hair loss, and I think that's a real thing for especially women, that it's part of your identity. It's part of, and
Yeah.
I say that, and again, I'm not trying to be judgmental
No,
or
you're right.
show,
No, you're right.
but
Because
I
we
just
think, oh man, we're being vain. But like, let's be real. Who cares if that's what you want to call it?
yeah.
It's traumatizing for a woman. I mean, maybe it's not for some people, but everybody I know, and including myself, it's traumatizing.
How do you get through that? What do you? I mean, I don't.
I,
I can't even comprehend what your mentality.
yeah,
But again, and I keep saying this, but I'm saying this because people are going to be listening to this podcast that are going through this,
yeah,
and they need to hear your mentality, because you, again,
correct.
not to beat the dead horse, but that you're positive, you're motivational, you're inspirational, you're a badass, and people need to
Thank
have
you.
you be that light for them. That's why I'm
Mhm.
asking you these questions. So I know you know that, but for people
No,
out
and
there,
I
they
don't
may not know
mind.
that, but
Yeah,
I know you
I'm
don't.
all what's the word? I'm at loss for my words sometimes these days, and I forget things sometimes these days. But I'm completely transparent. The good, bad, the ugly, whatever. I don't hide anything. I don't sugarcoat stuff. It is what it is. But um, what I'm doing is, first had to decide, okay, do I want to just cut my hair and just be done with it, so that I don't have the traumatizing literal like cat that like dies in the shower. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
this hair just all falls out at one time, is what, I've heard people talk about. And then I decided, this is the longest my hair's been in a long time, and I don't want to cut it yet if I don't have to. So I'm just going to kind of ride it through. And then the other thing I'm doing is, I'm doing what's called the Digni Cap. And that's something, it's very interesting. It's this, I look kind of like an old airline pilot. It's this thing that goes on your head, and it goes on 30 minutes before treatment. And then depending upon the medications, for me specifically, it's 2 hours post treatment and all during treatment. So it's more time and effort than the actual chemo itself. And I'm doing that. But in addition to that, I'm doing anything and everything that I can to make the rest of my body, besides this genetic mutation that has caused this issue, as healthy as possible. And I'm doing everything I can to protect the healthy cells and expose of the not healthy cells. Luckily, I've been through 3 treatments, and every person is different. I mean, some people, one treatment, they lose it, second treatment, third treatment. I mean, my first treatment was 3 drugs, which is including immunotherapy. And I want to talk about that too, because I'm like ecstatic about that. But so 3 drugs first one, and then second week, 1 drug, third week, 1 drug. And in this, it's been 4 weeks now of treatments basically. And I've actually lost less hair than my normal hair loss.
Hmm.
But I'm not normally getting 2 500 drip saline bags of fluid a week. I'm not normally, I usually drink a ton of water, half my body weight in ounces in water every day as a minimum, but I'm far exceeding that. That's not normal. I'm not normally getting high dose vitamin C through IV every week. I'm not normally getting colonics every week. I'm not normally doing acupuncture every week. I'm not normally even more than usual cleaning up my diet, right? I'm willing the shit out of it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
this is working, this is working, this is working, you know? Um, and there's even probably 5 or 6 other, I mean, I'm doing like powdered supplements, anything that can help to protect the healthy cell while identifying and disposing of the mutated cells, basically. So I think it's all of those things that are helping. And I may lose no hair, and I may lose all of it. And what I had to come to the conclusion of is that one of my main lessons in this, because there's a lesson in everything and there's a purpose in everything. I am an absolute control freak, and I can't control this, and I don't know the outcome, and I can't control that every week's going to stay on track, and I can't control that it's going to go off without a hitch, and I can't control whether I'm going to have hair, not have hair, lose 60% or lose all of it. Like, I literally have to finally surrender to a process. And the most interesting part about that is I do so much self work all the time, and it's insane how many times before this happened to me, more in like the last 90 days before I got the diagnosis, right? Where I just kept getting these messages, whether it be through a person, whether it be through something I read, something I saw. The word was surrender, surrender, surrender. And I would just be like, I can't. How can I possibly surrender? I'm in charge of so many things and so many people. It's not possible, right? And it was just surrender, surrender. And I'm like, I can't, I can't, I can't. And then guess what? You're going to, here you go. And here I am, you know?
Yeah. You mentioned all these things that you're doing physically and supplements and vitamins and all these other things. And I think one of the, and that's, I'm just pointing the obvious out, is one of the biggest things you can do is control your mentality as well. And that, keeping that positive mindset, because that has a direct correlation of how you feel. And I think it
Right.
goes right to the core, and it helps fight everything. So you mentioned immunotherapy. I have a good friend of mine, much shout out to my buddy Corey out in Arizona. He has melanoma. And he mentioned immunotherapy to me just a few, like last month.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about that, because obviously I know that's important to you, and it's extremely important to him. It kind of changed the game with him as well. Talk a little bit about that also.
I remember I do research this stuff for fun. And so for the last few years, I've been researching immunotherapy, stem cell research, and it's just been so freaking interesting, right? And I had to surrender, and I had to not control the protocol, if you will. But one of the things that I just was like not going to do without was do without the immunotherapy. What the immunotherapy does, supposedly, is it basically helps your immune system and boost itself to fight off the issues that you're having. And let me tell you how, and I love that because that's the same thing I believe in when I'm like using, water to heal a headache, or, different things like that, because you're fixing your own self. I look at the human body, and it should be viewed just like an automobile. If you maintain the oil, maintain the brake fluid, maintain the power steering fluid, you keep water in your radiator, that thing is going to run forever and work beautifully, right? But if you don't do those basic maintenance items, you're going to have issues. And that's how people need to look at their body, that exact same way. If you don't drink enough water, you're going to have dehydration. If you have dehydration, you're going to have headaches. If you have dehydration, you're going to have cramps. You're going to not feel good. You're going to feel lethargic, and all of those different things. So even that could make the biggest difference of anything. And when I had the first treatment, because I'm having 51 weeks total of immunotherapy, I might even be saying that wrong, but anyway. So when I had the first dose of immunotherapy, it started before the chemo. And something that I've always been, and my mom always has been too, we're very, very, very in tune to our bodies. Like, we typically can know when something's wrong before it is, which is weird because I really didn't think I had cancer. But there's just so many things like I notice and I realize more than like someone else might not notice, because for me, when something's wrong, it hurts, it's uncomfortable, it's a signal that there's a problem. It doesn't mean I need to go take a pill to fix it, because I need to fix what the problem is, right? The immunotherapy, so it goes through, and I'm just like absorbing and thinking and processing, right? And then The chemo goes through. And then I tell the nurse once that one chemo's done and the immunotherapy's done, I said, this is going to sound really, really weird, but I have to tell you something. I said, when I went through the immunotherapy, I literally felt tingling, and my tumor was right here on the edge of my left breast. I literally felt tingling in my left breast in the spots where they identified issues. I'm like, and I said, but then when the chemo went in, I felt tingling, but I felt tingling in different spots, like almost like a pinging, like ping, 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 like all over my body. And she was like, and I'm like looking at her going, she's gonna think I'm a totally insane person, but this
Yeah.
is what I'm experiencing. And she goes, you are not the first person to say that. She said, the immunotherapy is so smart that it can go to the problem cells and identify the difference between the bad cells and the good cells. And because just to give you a little bit of information, and I'm sure I'll screw it up because I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but basically what happens is your cells go through this process called apoptosis. And I might even be saying that wrong, but your cells are programmed to live and die within a certain amount of time. And when something gets off and the cell doesn't die, then it starts to mutate. And then when the cell mutates, then it starts to invite all its friends to the party. And then it starts having issues where other cells are mutating. And then they start to lump together with, guess what? Basically glucose, AKA sugar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, or like a type of candida. And so then you end up with a tumor from there. So what the chemo does is it identifies rapidly producing cells. We'll see a normal cell is round and beautiful and buoyant. And it's almost like an orchestrated event. It's just so beautiful. And when you have a mutated cell, it doesn't do that. It gets out of shape and it gets weird. But what it also does is it produces and like has a lot more activity than the healthy cell. So the chemo attacks rapidly reproducing cells. That is hair, that is nails, that is skin, as 3 examples, right? So the immunotherapy can identify not just the rapidly reproducing cells, but can identify the negative or mutated cells from the good cells, while the chemo can't seem to decipher the difference.
I see.
So the fact that the immunotherapy is like, it's freaking awesome. It's like so awesome. And I'm gonna tell you 2 quick stories. I knew of a friend of a friend, and my friend is a brilliant doctor, and this was his friend. In her 70s, got diagnosed with like a really bad lung cancer. Wasn't sick, went in for something else, found it. It was so bad that they said, we can't do chemo, we can't give you any treatment, like it's all over your body, right? Gave her basically a death sentence. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you an immunotherapy in the form of a pill, not even IV, in the form of a pill. Do you know that she went into remission, complete remission for 2 years, doing nothing but a pill immunotherapy, and then died of something else? And I know of 2 or 3 different stories like that. And it's freaking awesome.
It sounds awesome. I mean, it's going to change families, it's going to change lives, it's going to change everything.
Yeah.
Where does Stephanie Weeks go from here? What's your mindset going forward? What is life? Is life normal? Is life just a normal day? I mean, where do you see yourself in a month, 6 months, or like where does Stephanie Weeks go in the future?
It's not my normal, in the fact of, like I said, I am going, like, just constantly. And it wasn't good for me, because there would be, now that I'm looking back, right? Because the way that I think is, and this is debatable. Of course, you can't say, and people won't say, and they'll say that I'm wrong, but like, I caused my cancer. And I think in the way that if I want this to be gone and go forever, then I have to change what I've done, because I can't expect to do what I've done and get a different result than the result that I'm having right now. And things like now, if I'm tired at 6 o'clock at night, which there were many nights that I was exhausted at 6 o'clock, but then but now I got to cook and now I got to clean and I'm not finished working. And then next thing you know, you get a second wind and you work completely through the night and you never even went to sleep. Now, if I'm tired at 6 o'clock, I'm going to bed at 6 o'clock. And if I didn't finish something, it's not going to get done. And if I lose business over it, it's not going to get done. I can't kill myself, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense.
So it's not normal in that way. And it's not normal in the way that, like, man, I work so hard and such high stress levels and type of career, that my outlet was, if I was not on an airplane every 90 days, like I was like, oh my God, I'm being smothered. I've got to go somewhere. And now I can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite as stressed because I'm listening to my body and I'm not overworking and I'm putting myself first. Because normally when I had to go do some type of personal appointment, a customer might have needed me at that time. And so I'm going to cancel it. Right. Or I was just too busy and I had to reschedule it. And I would just put myself back and back and back. And now I'm not doing that anymore. And I have to continue to not do that anymore. And I have to continue to listen to my body and make some changes if I want to survive.
That, what you just explained, is one of the hardest things for anybody to do in any situation, not only battling cancer, what you're going through, but it could be, I mean, it could be a bad relationship. It could be an addiction problem, but that you have to change the thing. You have to listen to your body. And if you want to change it, you've got to change what you're doing. And you're exactly right. And I love how you said that. And obviously it's so real for you because, you know, you do have that type A personality where you got to continue to go, go, go. You got to crush life, do this, do that, do this. But man, that's got to be difficult for you to kind of hit to two things. The number one, realize that and actually, you know, change the way you are. It's got to make a big difference. It's got to, I bet, I can't even imagine you going through that phase. Like you're saying, hey, if I'm tired at 6, I go to bed. And I can totally see you working all night, all day, every day,
Oh, yeah.
because, you know, you're
So many
extremely
times.
driven. Yeah. But hitting that reset button, I think I'm pretty proud of you for doing that, because I think that's a good lesson for anybody out there, that it's just, if you're going through this rat race and you're spinning your wheels and you're working your ass off, you're not listening to your body. And again, no, I mean, I'm not trying to say that you brought your own cancer to yourself. I know you
Right, right. No, I get
mentioned
it.
that,
Yeah.
but my God, I mean, you've got to, you're just a great role model for everybody out there that needs to stop, slow down, and look at yourself and listen to your body and listen to your family, listen to everything, and change the way you are. But it is so hard to do. And it's so hard. And sometimes, you know, it's, and all of a sudden it takes something like this for you to realize that you got to slow down.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this too, because there's somebody out there that probably has to hear this. But again, remember, when it comes to health, like my resting heart rate was normally in like high 50s, low 60s. My blood pressure was never at the normal average of everybody. It was always like a little bit below. I was not overweight. I was not inflamed. I was not only healthy, I was also fit. I mean, my blood work was always great. Everything was just like, I mean, if I was supposed to be, I was like A plus on every level, every test, everything, right? And so, and I found in May of 2020, I found a lump. My husband actually found the lump and brought it to my attention. Kudos to him, because I'm not, I mean, I might not ever found it.
Yeah.
And so in May of 2020, I went and had ultrasounds done. I went and had mammograms done. I went and had thermography done. And then I even had a needle biopsy that came back negative.
Hmm.
So I had all of these things. Plus, if you would read on tumors and cancer cells and things like that, what I had did not fit in any of the boxes. I would read that tumors are hard and they kind of stick to something. They stick to tissue, right? So you couldn't like move them around. They
Yeah.
weren't mushy, if you would. My stuff moved, it grew, it shrank, it was mushy, it wasn't hard, like nothing. Like every medical professional that would like examine it was not concerned, and I wasn't concerned. And then even a negative needle biopsy, and it's like, and then even then, So that was May and June and July, basically. And then come January, I have aggressive, invasive, phase 3, stage 3, triple negative receptors diagnosis,
Yeah.
like left field.
Well, like I said, I'm extremely proud of you. I think
Thank you.
you were amazing. You are a beacon of light. You're a fighter. You're successful. You're smart. You're funny. I just I'm just so proud. I'm just so freaking proud of you, Steph. And I love, like I said, I heard that podcast today, and I just it made me tear up a little bit. I mean, I just
Okay.
and it wasn't tearing up, and again, it wasn't tearing up for the diagnosis of you having
Mhm.
cancer. It was tearing up for how strong you are. It wasn't like the negative looking at the, oh my gosh, Steph's going through this. It was like, I am so proud of this woman to come out and put herself on Front Street and to share her story and share her message, because I know it's not easy. And you know, maybe for you it's easy because some of the stuff like I talk about, it's easy for me, but it's
Yeah.
not easy for everybody out there. And people need to hear this and see this. That's why I had you have on the show. I don't want to talk to you all night, Steph, because I know you're busy. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. Tell everybody where they can find you. Tell where they can email you. Tell them where they can go through the whole spiel.
Okay. So I have Stephanie Weeks, which is a YouTube channel. And then I have stephanieweeks.com, which is my website. And I have weeksteam.com, which is a website for my mortgage business. My YouTube is about anything and everything mortgage education. I'm like, I love it. It's so much fun. And I really get a lot of good feedback that like I'm helping people make sense of the craziness that goes around a mortgage loan. I'm actually 99% complete in my mortgage or first time homebuyer 101, the ultimate mortgage course, which has been a year in the making. And that's coming out very soon. And then I also have my podcast, which is the Dharma Project. And the point of the Dharma Project is to live your Dharma is to live your truth. And I wanted a place where people could go and listen to real and raw stuff that was not edited, that was not just, hey, come tell me about all the amazing things you do in life. Like, tell me how you got here. Tell
Yeah.
me, help me show people. Like, one of my guests was so embarrassed that she never finished high school. And I was like, for the love of God, please tell everybody because you're doing freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And somebody out there didn't finish high school and feels like, well, they can never accomplish anything. And look at you, like you can be that light for them. So tell everybody, please,
Yeah.
that that's the case. And then the phone number for the office is 985-300-LOAN, because I'm also a loan officer as well.
Well, you crush everything, and I love the YouTube channel. I love your podcast, and anybody out there, just and the other thing too is that if anybody has any questions about what Stephanie's going through, email her. I guarantee you she'll
Yeah.
get back to you. She's gonna love the
Yeah.
story, and I think when people are going through tough times, it's great to connect with other people that are going tough times because it just allows you to share some stories that are very intimate stories. And I know Steph, I know you'd be open to it, so I recommend
Yeah.
everybody out there, yeah, reach out to Stephanie. She's a badass. She's a baller. She's crushing everything, and I'm just again, I'm proud to call you one of my great friends. I'm so
Thank
proud of you
you.
for the battle that you're on. I just got nothing but love for you. You know that, but
Thank you. And I want to say too that if anybody has not read your book yet, they need to go out and get it because speaking of raw and true and like just like getting vulnerable, that book was really, really great. And actually, I'm pretty sure if I remember right, I read it on one of the last airplane rides I was on, which was in January before like all of my travel got put to a halt, which is killing my soul, by the way. So universe, if you want to help me out there, I'll take a little help.
absolutely.
But yeah, the book was really, really great and it was vulnerable and it was so nice to see that side of you. And it was also very inspirational again to like know what you deal with and what you overcome and then how you still show up beyond that. And that's what we need more of. And that's why I have my podcast. And I think that's also why you have yours.
Absolutely, Steph, you're the best. I love you to death.
Thank you.
Everybody out there, yeah, buy my book, buy her book. Subscribe to her
Oh, that's true. I
podcast.
have a book.
Yes, you do have a book. Yeah,
Mortgage
yeah.
Peace.
Yeah, check out
Forgot
Morgan's
that.
piece. It's the most beautiful cover in the world too. It's badass. I
Oh,
love
thanks.
that
I
too.
do love that cover. I love that cover.
It's off the hook. I love it too. For everybody out there, again, hey, all the show notes will be her email address will be in the show notes, as well as all the websites there. You can check her out. But like I said, reach out to her if you got any questions for me. Obviously, Jeremy@jeremytodd.com. Don't forget to subscribe and share. I say it in every single episode. You've got greatness within. Like always, this is the positive side.